Think about the person who smiled at your face the hardest, the one who seemed the most supportive, the one who said all the right things. Now think about who hurt you the most. Same person, isn't it? You've met this person before. Maybe they're in your friend group right now. Maybe they're someone you grew up with. Maybe. And this one stings. Maybe there's someone you call family. They show up for you. They help you move. They lend you money. They answer the phone at 2 a.m. And in the moment, it all feels real. It feels genuine. It feels like love. But there's something happening underneath all of that. Something you can't see at first. Every single thing they do for you gets logged. Quietly. Carefully, like entries in a book you didn't know existed. Every favor. Every sacrifice. Every time they went out of their way. They remember all of it. With a precision that should honestly scare you. And for a while, you don't notice. Because everything seems fine. They seem generous. They seem supportive. You think to yourself, this person really has my back. Then one day, something happens. You can't make it to their thing. You disagree with them on something. You stop showing up in the way they expected. And suddenly, the book comes out. Not always in a dramatic way. Sometimes it's subtle. A comment that lands a little too sharp. A reminded favor dropped into a conversation where it didn't need to be. A shift in their energy that makes you feel like you owe them something, without ever being told what or why. That's the scorekeeper. And what makes them so dangerous is that they disguise control as generosity. They give, but they give with invisible strings attached. Every act of kindness is quietly building a debt they plan to collect. You think you're receiving love. What you're actually receiving is leverage, real loyalty, real friendship. Doesn't work like a transaction. When someone genuinely cares about you, they show up because they want to, not because they're building a case. Not because they're stacking chips they'll cash in later. They help you, and then they let it go. It doesn't become ammunition. It doesn't become a bargaining chip. It just becomes part of who they are and how they treat people. The scorekeeper can never do that. Because deep down, every relationship they have is a negotiation. Every connection is conditional, and the condition is simple. You must always be grateful enough, available enough, and indebted enough to satisfy them. The moment you're not, the invoice arrives. And trust me, you don't want to see what they think you owe them. You worked for something. Maybe it took months. Maybe it took years. Late nights, sacrifices, moments where you almost gave up but didn't. And then it happened. The win came through. The job, the opportunity, the thing you'd been grinding toward in silence while everyone else was sleeping. And the first thing you want to do, naturally, humanly, is share it. Because that's what we do. We look for the people closest to us and we say, hey, something good happened. Not to brag, not to show off. Just because good news feels better when someone else is in the room with you. So you tell them, and for just a split second, before they catch themselves, you see it. A flicker, something behind the eyes that doesn't match the smile forming on their face. It's fast, almost invisible. But you felt it. Your gut caught it, even if your brain tried to explain it away. Then comes the response. It's not excitement. It's not "that's incredible, I'm proud of you." Instead, it's dressed up doubt, concern with a costume on. Just make sure you're being careful. That sounds risky. Have you really thought it through? I just don't want you to get hurt, said softly. Said with a carrying tone. Said in a way that makes you feel ungrateful if you push back. But what just happened? Underneath all those careful words, is that someone looked at your win and felt threatened by it. That's the celebration killer. And the thing that makes them so hard to identify is that they never look like a hater. Haters are obvious. You can spot them and cut them off. The celebration killer looks like someone who cares about you. They frame their envy as wisdom. They package their insecurity as protection. And because you trust them, you let those words in. And sometimes, without realizing it, you let them shrink you. You start second-guessing the win. You pull back on your excitement. You convince yourself that maybe they have a point. And slowly, without any argument or confrontation, your energy around the thing you worked so hard for begins to dim. That's not an accident. That's the effect they were always going to have on you, whether they knew it consciously or not. Here's the truth about people who genuinely love you. Your success doesn't make them nervous. It doesn't make them reach for reasons it might fail. It lights them up. It makes them loud and proud and obnoxious about how happy they are for you. There's a moment, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you decide to let someone in. Not all the way, not everything. Just a piece of something real, something you don't usually say out loud. Maybe it's a struggle you've been carrying. Maybe it's a plan you haven't told anyone about yet. Maybe it's a feeling you've been sitting with for a long time, and you finally trusted someone enough to say it. And in that moment, it felt right. It felt safe. This person had been around long enough. They'd proven themselves in small ways. So you opened the door, just a crack, and you let them see something true about you. Then one day, it comes back, not in a dramatic confrontation, not in a public call-out. It comes back quietly, through someone else's mouth, in a room you weren't in, dropped into a conversation so casually, like it was never yours to begin with. And when you trace it back, when you follow the trail, it always leads to the same person you trusted with it. That's the confidentiality leak. And what makes this one cut so deep is that it's not just about the information getting out. It's about what it means. Because when you shared that thing with them, you weren't just sharing words. You were handing them a piece of your trust. You were saying, I feel safe with you. And what they did with that safety, whether carelessly or deliberately, is tell someone else. Now, here's the part that people miss. The confidentiality leak rarely looks like a traitor. They don't announce what they did. Half the time they convince themselves it wasn't a big deal. I only told one person. I didn't think it was that serious. I was just venting. The excuses come easy for them because in their mind, your private truth was just a story worth telling. That's the problem. To them, your vulnerability was content. Something interesting to pass along, something that made their conversation more engaging at your expense. And the damage goes beyond that one leaked secret. Because now you don't know what's safe to say. You start editing yourself around them. You keep things surface level. You perform a version of yourself instead of being yourself. And that invisible wall lives inside a relationship you thought was real. This is why confidentiality isn't a small thing. It's not just about keeping secrets. It's the foundation of whether a relationship is actually real or just feels real from the outside. A person who can't protect your private moments in small situations will never protect you when it truly matters. Every single time you talk to this person, something is wrong. Not occasionally, not going through a rough patch like every human being does at some point, but every time, without fail, there is always a problem, always a crisis, always someone who did them wrong or a situation that spiraled out of their control. Their life, the way they tell it, is an endless series of unfortunate events, and none of it, not a single chapter, is ever their fault. The boss is unfair. The friend betrayed them. The opportunity fell through because of someone else's mistake. The relationship ended because of what the other person did. Every story has a villain. Every outcome has an excuse. And they sit at the center of it all, permanently wronged, permanently suffering, permanently waiting for the world to finally treat them the way they deserve. And at first, you feel for them. Because you're a good person. You have empathy. You listen. You offer advice, perspective, solutions, real ones, thoughtful ones, the kind that could actually help if someone was willing to act on them. But here's what you start to notice after a while. They don't want the solution. They hear it, they nod, and then they find a reason why it won't work. Or they change the subject back to the problem. Or next week they come back with the same issue dressed in slightly different clothes. That's when it hits you. This isn't someone trying to get out of a hard situation. This is someone who has built an identity inside of it. The constant victim doesn't just have problems, they need them. Because the problems justify everything. The lack of progress, the broken relationships, the gap between where they are and where they always say they're going to be someday. As long as there's always someone else to blame, they never have to look in the mirror and ask the harder question. And the cost to you, the person sitting across from them, is enormous. Every conversation pulls something out of you. Your time, your energy, your emotional bandwidth. You leave those interactions feeling heavier than when you arrived. Not because you helped them, but because you couldn't. Because no amount of your energy was ever going to be enough to fill what they're actually missing inside themselves. Here's the line that matters. You can care about someone without absorbing their chaos. You can be present without being consumed. Compassion doesn't mean giving someone unlimited access to your peace just because they're in perpetual pain. Some people aren't stuck because life is hard. Think about the last time life was actually good for you. Things were moving. Energy was high. You were winning, or at least it looked that way from the outside. And during that time, almost like clockwork, certain people were everywhere, texting you, showing up, making plans, laughing loud and standing close and making you feel like you had a real circle around you. It felt full. It felt like connection. It felt like proof that the people in your life actually wanted to be there. Then something shifted. Maybe you hit a rough patch. Maybe things got quiet. Maybe you stopped being the exciting version of yourself for a little while because life got heavy and you needed to just get through it. Nothing dramatic, nothing permanent. Just a season of hard, and they vanished. Not all at once. It's never that clean. First the responses get slower, then the plans start falling through, then the check-ins stop completely, and you're sitting in the middle of your difficult moment, the exact moment you actually need people. And the silence is so loud it becomes its own kind of pain. That's the fair weather friend. And what makes this type so uniquely damaging is the specific timing of their disappearance. They don't leave when things are normal. They leave when things are hard, which means they are physically absent during the only moments that actually test what a relationship is made of. You never find out who they really are to you until you need them. And by then, they're already gone. The cruelest part comes after, because when life picks back up, when the storm passes and the good energy returns, they come back, casually, warmly, like no time passed. Like they didn't go quiet for 3 months while you were drowning, and they expect to just slide back into the same position, the same closeness, the same level of access, as if loyalty has no memory. But you remember, even if you don't say it. You remember who called and who went silent. You remember who showed up and who suddenly got very busy with their own life the moment yours stopped being fun to be around. Here's what that experience is actually teaching you. Presence during the good times costs nothing. Anyone can show up when there's something to celebrate, something to gain, somewhere exciting to be. That's not loyalty. That's just entertainment. Real friendship is what someone does with your worst days, your lowest moments, your least impressive seasons. That's the only version of presence that actually means something. Comment CN if this video just helped you see someone in your life more clearly. Because awareness is the first move, but the second move, knowing exactly how to protect yourself going forward. That's where the real power lies. And that's precisely what's coming next. Don't scroll past it.